Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with your favourite football analyst, Gareth, for talking tactics. We are going to go over probably a bit of a strange game. Aston Villa 2, Chelsea 2. Yeah, we're going to delve right into it because it was a strange game, Gareth. Probably a little bit different to how Villa have approached certain games, whether that was on purpose or whether that was just a situation of the game. And yeah, we managed to get a point when many people probably said we probably didn't really deserve to.
Yeah, we didn't deserve it in the end, did we? I agree with you. I think a strange game is a fair synopsis of it because it was kind of you go 2-0 up and you think, well, this is all right. Chelsea are a bit under par at the minute. We're not doing too bad. We're doing all right. And it was. I don't think I buy into this rhetoric that you know, oh, we sat off. We were reserving energy for Thursday, and you still need to win games to stay involved. I think that Emery is that sort of manager. I don't know what you think, but I don't. I can kind of see the reasoning behind it, but I don't see that then going 2-0 up, and we were sitting off for the whole game anyway, even before 2-0 up. So kind of the game plan. I don't think you can go out in a game and say we're going to conserve energy today. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, and especially with the way Chelsea, do approach the games with that high energy. Yes, it's inconsistent. Yes, it's makes mistakes, but we know that if they get some momentum, they can score goals, and they've got players who can cause problems. So yeah, it didn't really seem like a I guess if that was a strategy, it didn't seem like a wise one against a team like a Chelsea.
No, it's almost like a bit of a Manchester United way of playing recently, isn't it? It's sort of like, we'll go behind, we'll get bad for a little while, and then what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll end up winning the game somehow, even though we're not
Yeah,
really that good. But yeah, I mean, it was that, wasn't it? It was that. And I must admit, I was quite impressed with Chelsea winning that comeback. I must admit.
yeah, yeah. They showed some grit, showed some character, and yeah. Well, we'll get right into it, guys. Please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, help us on the road to 4,000. We're getting very, very close now. I think about 250 away from that big 4,000 number. So please do like, subscribe, and get your comments in below. Um, let's drop into the actual match report lineup because a lot of people were kind of commenting on this, and if it was a conserving energy in possession type of performance, then only having 28.9% of possession wasn't really gonna save any energy. So yeah, what was your kind of take on the general stats in the game?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of my point. It was that you're then sort of, how are you conserving energy by sitting off and dropping off and having to chase people all over the park? It doesn't really make a great deal of sense. And I was quite surprised that the possession stats for Chelsea were that high. I mean, they dominated the ball is that much. It's obvious the numbers tell us that. But sort of first off, we sort of controlled it reasonably well up to 2-0 up. We were doing okay. And I just thought everything was there. But the amount of opposition half passes there compared to us was just incredible, and every stat, sort of attacking stat especially, points to Chelsea trying to win the game, and that's exactly what they tried to do.
Mm, yeah, yeah. Well, look, we'll get the net passing networks up, and not the usual network for Villa. I mean, you've took kind of minutes 27 to 75. Obviously, Olsen there, but the usual kind of heavy passing from the keeper to Pau Torres or to Konsa is just not there.
This is kind of my point again. Then there's nothing there. It was, I mean, Luca Dini created a lot of expected threat, which we'll see, like mostly from sort of set pieces and his crosses and everything else. And I think he is the vital part now as well as this team. I really do think that. And it was kind of like, this is basically my point. We didn't even try to control the game. It was almost like we tried early on and went 2-0 up and got the 2 goals on the counter, but we didn't really try to control the game. And I think this is the benefit, or the downside, should I say, of Douglas Luiz lately. He is the man that is supposed to be in there controlling the game and doing all that. And it seems to me like if John McGinn or Boubacar Kamara is not beside him, he sort of really, really struggles with that.
Mm, yeah, yeah, and that's this is what we want from him, like that.
Yeah.
Conducting, setting the tempo, calming things down. He seems to try and calm things down in the wrong areas, which I'm sure we'll get into in a bit, and then speed things up or try a kind of flamboyant pass in the at the time when he needs to calm it down. It just seems like he's switched it the wrong way around.
Yeah, and this is the game where, especially at home as well, against the Chelsea, sort of, like I say, we're not massively full of confidence, but can turn it on when they like. This is the sort of game for him, especially when Tielemans went off. I thought, just drop back, Buggy, drop in between those centre halves like you're doing, and just get on the ball, play those nice little passes, just control the game quite nicely. And he was chasing shadows a lot, especially even out of possession. He was chasing shadows a lot.
Yeah. Chelsea passing network for comparison. I mean, we're more used to seeing that from Villa. I mean, that's some heavy, you know, and as the possession stats bear it out, they dominated the ball, they dominated territory, and you know, played well.
Yeah, but we also allowed them to do that, Rich. That was half of the problem.
Sure,
That's all very well
sure.
Chelsea doing, but we allowed them by sitting off. We'll sit in a little while to do it. They're targeting the right hand side. They're trying to get Madueke on the ball, who's the player in form for Chelsea at the moment. Incredible player, really playing really well for him, and you can see exactly what's happening there. Moises Caicedo is not a sort of a ball playing midfielder. He's there for his defensive capabilities. We allowed him to make some 88 passes. Thiago Silva, 106 passes. Chalobah, 80-something passes. Badiashile, over 100 passes again. Just away from home. And we're letting teams do this. Can't get it right.
The expected threat, you mentioned Luca Dean, you know, with regards to set pieces and his pass for the goal. But they're looking at defenders there: Cucurella, Badiashile, Moises Caicedo, Thiago Silva. Like, yeah, it's interesting looking at this.
This is exactly it, and you're letting these defensive-minded defenders basically can sort of play sort of passes that are a higher expected threat. I mean, all right, 0.26 and 0.23 are not high numbers in Italy, but you're still letting players not known for their creative influence passing in a game. The centre half and Caicedo especially was, for me, had one of his sort of better games for Chelsea, but yet he's not all playing sort of, he's there, like I said, for his defensive qualities, and we're letting players do this up in the park.
Yeah, absolutely. Passing locations, yeah, letting a lot down the wings. You know, obviously Chelsea were targeting that. Anything else that you're noticing from this?
No, I mean, a lot of the time we stuck with a back five, didn't we? We sort of start off in a back five with Dougie dropping in and everything. And we're still allowing these sorts of incisive passes in these what we call half space areas to Madueke and Modric especially, and also Cucurella and Palmer to an extent. And we'll get into that. But yeah, it was just a little bit sort of, why are you letting players pay passes in really key areas like that? It's because you're in a too deep a low block.
XG. You know, anything here to notice? Anything here to note? Not too many opportunities, I suppose, for Villa. Chelsea, you know, quite a few shots from distance. I think that was more in the first half, but 22 shots is quite considerable.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Cucurella own goal isn't shown on the Villa goal, so we should state that for a start. But yeah, the XG is a little bit low again from understat, but it is what it is. I mean, allowing Chelsea 22 shots is just incredible. I mean, they're not high XG value, admittedly, but you're still letting these players, and we can see a lot of that from that right-hand side there where Madueke was playing. So we can see a lot of that going on there. But yeah, the 22 shots is quite concerning.
And anything you're noticing from the timeline? Does this show us too much in terms of the way the game panned out?
We talk a lot about goals at right times on these XG timelines, don't we? And Chelsea are a prime example of getting that, you know, of getting one on the 60-minute and then Conor Gallagher not 15 minutes after. So that's quite worrying, to be honest, especially at home. And the XG from us was, we didn't create a great deal by the two goals, and which is the second, you know, the Cucurella one was on an goal. But yeah, slightly worrying that, really.
Yeah. Do you put it down to just players maybe getting a little bit tense? You know, we've had this situation at 2-0, you know, the Brentford game. You know, we know how they were so focused on not letting that happen against Bournemouth. Is it just to see this Champions League finish line in sight, and it's just a little bit of kind of tension spilling over?
It's possible, but I think it's a lot to do with game momentum. I think, you know, as soon as Chelsea got their tails up at 2-1, that was it, you know, and you think the writing's on the wall a little bit. But I think a lot of it as well is to do with, like I say, how we sat off so much and we just allowed them to sort of to get back in the game.
Yeah, yeah. It's well, look, we obviously got a bit out of jail with Tottenham losing to Arsenal, so hopefully that gives the players a little bit more confidence. And like you say, Chelsea, credit to them, they did put in a good performance as well. They've got threatening players. We'll get into the screenshots in a minute. Do guys please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Help us on the road to 4,000, and as I say, get your comments in below because and Gareth puts a lot of time and effort into these into this data and into this information. So yeah, let's have a little look at some of the slides that you wanted to show us. So first half shape and Cole Palmer is the first one you wanted to look at. What were you noticing here about how we were trying to set up?
Yeah, I mean, I think the worry before the game was that Cole Palmer was going to turn it on again. I think we all sort of worried about that a little bit. And I just sort of concentrated on him quite a lot during the first half, especially in sort of where he was trying to pick up the ball and everything else. And here we can see that sort of that back five almost I was talking about with Leon Bailey dropping in because Cucurella is now playing high up the left-hand side. And Chelsea played with like a back three in possession with Cucurella pushed up on the left-hand side and Madueke and Mudryk providing the width. But also, in the first half, Mudryk was inside. Cucurella was using the width on the left-hand side with Madueke on the right. And I think that tried to sort of push Cole Palmer more central where he likes to be. But he couldn't quite get on the ball as much as he wanted to.
Okay, interesting. You can see how packed they like to make it. Anything on this? So did that force him kind of deeper to try and get the ball then? Is that what he was trying to do then with this?
Yeah, exactly that. I could have provided sort of 3 or 4 slides of him in different positions across that final third. But yeah, essentially, because Villa are so narrow, as you stated, Palmer sort of having to then drop deep. But what happens then is they push another player up in Conor Gallagher. The trouble is they don't want Palmer in a defensive position like that. They want those two swapped around in that first half anyway. And I think he tried to get on the ball. I don't think he was a great influence in the first half. So in that respect, we did well because we forced everyone narrow.
Yeah. He definitely seemed like, first half we let them have possession, but we definitely looked threatening. Here again, so this is where they wanted him. I take it then. This is kind of Gallagher in that deeper position, Palmer just in that little half space.
Yeah, we saw him in the first slide, sort of moving up onto that right, sort of in that right half space position. They decided they're going to try and get him a little bit more central, but Villa allowed very little space between the lines, and we saw the same thing against Bournemouth. We were really compact the lines, and this worked really well. It was just a little bit too sort of skew-if almost with Bailey and sort of Rodgers a little bit trying to push onto the centre halves, the Chelsea centre halves on the ball, when they really probably could have just, if you're going to play in a low block, just everybody drop back, 2 banks 4 and playing the 4-4-1-1. And Palmer was trying to sort of manipulate positions into there where he could pick up the ball. He did struggle in the first half. So in that respect, we did okay.
Yeah. So what was their tweak in the second half then? What did you notice about that?
Yeah, massive change, a massive swing in momentum because of this change. City do this, Arsenal do this. Left-hand side, Cucurella, left back, comes inside to be that extra midfielder. Mudryk now keeps the width instead of being inside where Cucurella, he's now keeping the width. This allows Conor Gallagher to go forward into the number 10 position. All of a sudden, you've got problems. And this was the idea of it, was to push Gallagher forward. Caicedo is the defensive midfielder. Cucurella just in there for that bit of extra security centrally. But now you've got Palmer and Gallagher in the 2 number 10 positions. Now you've got problems.
So just looking at that, how would you kind of combat that? Would you look to kind of have Bailey now maybe not pressing there and staying out wide to then be like a danger? If we pick the ball up, then he's the man who can get through. So maybe like Watkins is a little bit more pressing there, or Diaby comes out. How would you kind of combat that?
So Leon Bailey is Mudryk's man for a start, and he would be. That's what Emery would be telling him. I think you've got no need to press a centre half there. Let him have the ball.
Yeah.
Stay as you were in the first half. Stay in 2 banks of 4. You've got no issues because the thing is Gallagher is drawing Cash there. But even in theory, Cash doesn't have to be there. Cash could even go out to Modric, and Bailey and whoever could drop in on Cucurella. The trouble is you don't want them central, because if you have a counter attack, you've got no width, and Villa like to play wide areas on the counter. So yeah. We talked about Douglas Luiz here. A little bit in no man's land. Wasn't quite sure whether to press Caicedo or Cucurella. And I think that's where the loss of Tielemans in the first half, if he would have been in here in the second half, I think we might have seen a bit different. But yeah, overall, stay in your two banks for 4 and just drop central.
Yeah, yeah, understood. Yeah, we just seem to get a little bit confused about it.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about the low block, the danger is that you drop deeper and deeper and deeper, and you've just said there, far, far, far too deep.
Yeah, and if you're going to allow, like I say, Conor Gallagher here central, for example, so he's now playing in a 4-2-3-1, if you like. He's playing in the number 10 position. So that allows Palmer to then wander wherever he likes. He can go wherever he likes. Jackson, all right, not the greatest of centre forwards positionally, I don't think, but this allows Palmer, like I say, to drift and everything. I mean, look at where Chalobah is here, bottom right hand side of the corner. Morgan Rogers just in front of him there. That's not a bad shape. You're not in a bad shape there, but you're dropping too deep and you're allowing Chelsea to have the ball in freedom of areas. Push Ollie Watkins up there. Ollie Watkins can stay central. You've got no need. I think this is where it got a bit, like you say, confused. We didn't quite know how to deal with it properly.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit of a strange one, because when Man City put the extra men in midfield when we played them at Villa Park, we absolutely dominated, and we knew exactly what we were doing. Obviously, you're talking having Kamara and Luiz together in that midfield, and he makes a huge difference. But yeah, it just seems strange that we really struggled with it.
Yeah, but if you're going to play a low block, just keep those two banks of 4 and just press as a unit. But don't worry about they just didn't sort of understand it.
Yeah. Overcomplicating. So yeah, what did you mean by this? Was this us in possession?
Yeah, I think a lot of it we tend to sort of play, don't we? We play from Martinez to Torres out to Digne, or from Digne back to Torres, back to Martinez, and then we play out. Sometimes, and this was on all the time, by the way, this tweet, all the time. Matty Cash is in acres of space there. Mudryk is too concerned with Tielemans, by the way, there. Just switch just switch it and get up the pitch. If that's what you're going to do that. Mix it up a little bit. But Chelsea are in a high press. They know that we like to play out from the back. And they're really good high press at Chelsea. They don't do it all the time, but they did it really well in this game. Just mix it up a little bit and switch it. Don't come into midfield with Douglas Luiz and put him under pressure like we did so many times. Play the switch.
Yeah, he's good enough to do it as well, Digne. So it's strange that he didn't. And yeah, the Chelsea high press obviously paid dividends for them for that goal that got them back in the game. What did you see from this situation?
Yeah, again, the high press. This is in the second half, obviously, and Olsen's now on. I've had like 4 passes there, but you've got Conter at the top right, and you've got 5 passes there not on. So what are you going to do? You've got to be able to find a way out there. The 1-2 from Douglas Luiz back out to Dean is probably not on because Madueke's going to block him off. So we've just got to find little solutions to this. And we saw a lot of it where Dean is going to play back to Pau Torres. Pau Torres slings it up the line and Chelsea regain possession again. And I think people are right. This was one of Watkins' poorest games. In fact, probably the poorest I've seen him. He couldn't hold the ball up. The ball bounced off him multiple times. And this is the game where we really, really needed him to hold that ball up. But he couldn't do it. But it was difficult.
Yeah. It's one of them where, if your striker doesn't hold the ball up sort of 5 or 6, 7 times out of 10, then it means that the opposition gets more confidence. So they start pushing 10 yards further forward. Our defense goes 10 yards further back, and then they're reluctant to put it upfield because they know that it's just going to come straight back. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle. You saw the Bournemouth game and how much joy we got out of because Watkins was so dominant and holding the ball up so well. I mean, would you have maybe considered bringing a John Duran on earlier or something to maybe be that battering ram up front and just cause a bit more problems?
Yeah, maybe. I think, especially at 2-2, you needed someone to hold that ball up. You're right. And maybe a Duran was the answer. But for me, I think you've just got to play the channels. If that's what you're going to do, stay Leon Bailey high on wide, put him up on the front 2 with Watkins and just play the channels. Spread that back 3 across a little bit. If you're going to clear the ball up, play it into the channels. I know we're sounding a little bit negative here. And after all, we've got a point out of it. But turn it up at home, you really try to see that out. I don't think we ran out of legs. I don't think we looked particularly tired. I thought we struggled towards the end and injuries are a problem. But did we deserve a point out of it in the end? Don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely take it. And yeah, I don't want to sound negative at all. If you listen
No.
to our match reaction with Kev, we were very positive about the result and what it meant. And particularly when you look at other teams, struggling to get points, and it gets this business end of the season, and it's win or get points by hook or by crook. Arsenal didn't play fantastically well against Tottenham. Liverpool aren't playing well at the moment. Man City didn't play particularly well against Nottingham Forest. It doesn't matter. You've just got to get the wins, and that's at the end of the day, or get the points. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. And if we can take some confidence from that into Thursday night and then into Sunday against Brighton, then so be it. We will absolutely take it. And that's the real positive out of it, that we didn't lose the game, and we got the point that means so much to us at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we didn't play particularly well, but like you say, we still got, and that's what the good teams do. They grind out the points when they need it. I mean, I think probably another 5 points will do it. You're probably looking at another win and a draw, maybe. So Brighton are maybe getting a point either away at Palace or at Liverpool. So it's a tricky running. I mean, you've got to hope that sort of. I'm not sure about Tottenham. That's the concern for me. Can Tottenham turn it on? I'm not sure they can. I still think if we get the 5 points, that'll be good enough.
Yeah, I actually think probably 4, because I think Tottenham against Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool, it's a tough ask. Yes, I think they beat Sheffield United and Burnley, although Burnley have turned around a bit of form, so it depends on what their situation is. But it's this game on Thursday night for them against Chelsea. That's a huge one for them. If Chelsea get the victory, or even a point, because points don't really get them too far. I think then we get a result against Brighton, and I think we're in a really good spot. But
Yeah, I
look,
mean,
you can't take anything for granted.
no, I
Absolutely
mean, I
not.
think you're right. I mean, I think even one from loss is probably going to be okay, isn't it? Even if we get sort of like you say the 4, even 3 draws, I think even if Tottenham manage to lose one of those games at least, I think that's probably it.
Yeah. Well, Gareth, wonderful
Incredible.
analysis again. Yeah, exactly. Great to have you back on the channel. And where can everyone find you with your analysis?
Yeah, you can find me on @AnalyticsGC or at that Karate JC, whichever you prefer.
Brilliant. Well, we'll be back tonight for the fans forum. Make sure you get your questions and comments in for what you want us to cover. We're getting plenty in already, so please do find us at Villa Park Pod. Let us know your thoughts, or ask us on YouTube. And yeah, we'll be back tonight. We'll also do a bit of a preview for Olympiacos. What a game that is meant to be on Thursday. Guys, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, help us on the road to 4K. Gareth, once again, thank you very much. Thank you all for watching, and as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.